Hi everybody, my name is James Hadland, and today I'd like to talk to you about the Temperature Thermal Access Camera. I'm going to share with you a PowerPoint presentation that I have on that to talk about the features and benefits of the product. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the software and show you what the software can do, just give you a quick overview. So in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen with you right now, and just bear with me. And I'm going to boot up the PowerPoint presentation for you as well. And you should be able to see this on your screen right now. Again, it's the Temperature Thermal Access Camera. And we've brought this product to the market now for several months here in the USA because there's a need, obviously, with COVID-19 to do some sort of temperature screening for businesses to get back to normal. And in a lot of places, they're actually mandating that temperature screening and mask wearing compliance are something that businesses should do at the point of entry to their facilities. It's important to do temperature screening because high temperature is such a key signature of COVID-19. And of course, it could be an indicator that there are other infections as well. And if people are not wearing a mask, then asymptomatic individuals could pass that infection on to other people. So it's very important that we screen for high temperature and also for mask wearing compliance as well. So the Temperature product itself, as you see here on the picture, it looks a little bit like an old iPhone 1. It's not at all, it's much bigger than that. This is about 10 inches tall by about 8 inches wide. And it also has that infrared thermal peripheral on the top there as well. So it's quite a tall product, and it's a metal chassis for the product. This is an industrial grade product. This is not a cell phone based product. It's not an Android based product. This is definitely something which is more of a commercial grade, industrial grade, workhorse type product that's going to be accurate. And it's also going to be rugged and something which you can have in a commercial environment. And by using this, you can screen building access without having to have human interaction. In other words, you don't need to have a temperature screener who's going to put themselves at risk of being close to people who could potentially be infected when they're taking their temperature manually with a handheld thermometer. And so in that way, you're protecting your staff, you're protecting your visitors who are coming into your building, and everybody can stay more safe as a result of that. So when we decided to bring this product to the marketplace here in response to COVID-19, we searched high and low to get a product which would be a high quality product, an accurate product, and something which would be very reliable as well. What we like about the Temperature unit is that it's a German engineered infrared technology. And this product actually existed prior to COVID-19 in the form of a HR clocking in device with facial recognition. And that's one of the real strengths of the Temperature unit, is that it's got a very strong biometric software component, which means that it's actually able to recognize individuals once you program their details into the product. So it will be able to sense, for example, that James Hadland has come into the building once my details have been put into the system. And in that way, you can use it to track and trace and keep a record of who's coming in, which staff members are coming in, or which strangers are coming into any business or healthcare environment. The good thing about this product is that it's been used in the European Union for several months before it came to the US. So it's a road-tested product, if you will. And as I said, it existed before COVID-19 in the form of a clocking in device. So people didn't actually, hourly workers could use it in a factory setting or in a place where you've got shifts, etc., without having to sign in or clock in manually. So it's a very durable, commercial grade, non-contact, anti-tamper screen. And what that means is that this is not a touch screen. We don't want this to be a touch screen because we don't want people to play around with it. We don't want visitors or people who are using the device to be able to change it in any way, shape, or form. And this is one of the prerequisites for us to do business with certain government departments and other businesses where obviously security is a very key requirement in that environment. Now, the temperature range that the Temperature will actually sense is between 86 degrees and 113 degrees Fahrenheit, which is way outside the range of normal human body temperature. But obviously, we set this to 99.1 right out of the box because that's the higher range of normal body temperature. If somebody has an external body temperature of over 99.1, chances are that their internal body temperature will be even higher than that, probably about a degree higher than that, which indicates that they could be pyrexial due to some sort of viral infection. And at the time, it's most likely that that could be COVID-19. And so obviously we want to take precautions because of that. It does have an accuracy of 0.3 of a degree Fahrenheit. So it's a very accurate product, but this is not a healthcare product. It might be as accurate as some healthcare products, but it is not a healthcare product. It's not a patient-facing product at the point of care. It is an IT screening device that you're going to have at the front of your building as a first line of defense for people when they actually come into the building itself. Other features about the product which are very nice to have are that you can use this as a standalone unit, or you can network it with other units and use a free software package that we provide with the product as well. And it has very high capacity on-device storage. If you're just going to use it straight out of the box, plug it in and start scanning people for temperature and mask compliance. If you want to network this, we can also, it also sets itself for push alarm messaging. In other words, if somebody has an abnormally high temperature above 99.1, you can set this so that it sends out a message by SMS, text, or email to the people in your building, in your company or facility that need to get that message. You can also mirror the screen. In other words, you can actually see what's going on at the point where the camera is. You can see people walking up to the camera and see them being scanned by the camera. And that's done using the free software that we provide. And I'll go into that in some detail in a little while. The product itself does carry a 12-month warranty, and it is FCC approved for sale here in the United States. And it's also ISO manufactured. That was very important to us because we want to make sure that if you buy a product today, it's as good as the products that were made yesterday and as good as the products that are going to be made tomorrow because they're being made to ISO quality standards. So that's an extremely important fact to note, is that when you get the Tempur unit, you're getting a high quality product that's got that ISO manufacturing behind it. Now, as soon as you get it out of the box, it runs on mains power supply. It is not battery operated. And again, that's one of the prerequisites from a security standpoint. We don't want people to be able to run off and use this thing if they steal it. So therefore, you plug it in with a AC/DC power converter and the unit will boot right up. It will go through a self-calibration process, which takes about 2 minutes. And that's really just the Hyman infrared module that's on the top of this product that's going through its calibration. Another reason we chose Tempur was because of the Hyman unit. Hyman is a very, very high quality infrared sensor. It's very high quality, just like Carl Zeiss is to the world of microscope lenses, Hyman is to the world of infrared sensors. So we wanted to make sure that this was the best of the best, something which is completely reliable and completely accurate. So when you get the product, it requires very little setup in terms of just using it straight out of the box. We set this for mask wearing and for 99.1 degrees Fahrenheit, so that when you plug it in, that's what it's going to scan and look for. If you want to network it out after that, you can do that. And once you do that, you can change temperature parameters, etc., and even turn on or off mask wearing or temperature screening, so that in the future, if those things become something you don't need, if we don't need to scan for mask wearing, for example, you can turn that off at some point in the future. So it allows you a lot of flexibility. And when you use the product, there's an audible spoken alert in English to tell you whether it's an abnormal or normal temperature reading. Now, once you're within range of the product, which is within 5 to 3 feet away from it, it will actually only take about a half a second to locate you, to scan you, and to tell you whether the temperature is correct or not. And what it's doing there is it's looking for a human being. It's got several different technologies here. It's got live video technology, which is looking for a human being. Once it spots a human being, it's looking for a face. In other words, I can't just hold my hand up to the unit and have it take the temperature on my hand. It has to see a face, and it will only take the temperature from a face, a human face. And so obviously once it has identified a human being, identified the face, it takes the temperature, it takes a snapshot of that person at that point, and all of that happens in about half a second. So I'm going to play you a little video here to the right of the screen, which just shows a colleague of mine walking up to the device. And once he gets within scanning range, it will see him. It takes his temperature and says temperature normal. And then he can move on through the building and safely interact with the folks who are also in the facility. Now, obviously, you've got different ways that you can network the device if you want to. As I said, you can use it as a standalone product, or you can use it with the free software package that we provide as well. The unit itself can be floor mounted or desk mounted. There is also an optional wall mount, and I'll talk about and show you those stand options here in a minute. But it does actually have a lot of features which a lot of other units that you'll see on the market do not. This product actually has a series of connections that come with it as a value added that can do various different things. You can hook this up so that it will actually control a door, for example. If you have an electronic door system, this will actually enable you to either open or close the door based on the scan result of the device. It can also interface with other software packages that are out there, be that human resource type packages or other network video cameras, things like that. We can also supply what we call the API docs and the SDK docs so that your own IT team can do that integration if you don't wish to use the standard software that we provide with the unit. And we can do that because we have an open architecture software. It's a Linux-based software. And that's something which is another reason why we didn't want to bring to market a different type of product that didn't have that open architecture software. As far as privacy goes, if you're in a facility or a business where you have standard security cameras as a matter of course, this is exactly the same as doing that. So you'll probably have some sort of a disclaimer on your website for your business that talks about the fact that people's images may be captured as a routine part of them coming into your facility. And this is the same thing. You know, it's kind of like going to the grocery store and going through self-checkout or walking around the grocery store. At those points, you're on camera, your image is being captured and recorded. So it's the same kind of scenario here with the TemperSure unit as well. I'd like to quickly show you the software itself. So I'm going to end this slideshow temporarily and just bring up the software, which is on a separate computer here. Now, as you can see, this is the main landing page for the software once you install it on your computer. And there are several different icons here that we can use to interrogate the unit and see what sort of information is being captured by the unit itself. So for example, we can go to the preview screen here and you can see a live feed of what the camera is actually seeing itself. Now I have a camera set up here. I'm working out of my home office today, and this camera is set up downstairs in my living room. So you can see a shot there of exactly what the camera can see. So in that way, if you are monitoring people coming in and out of a building, if whoever has this software is in, say, the security department or a front desk type location, they can actually monitor what's going on without having to be right there in front of the people who are coming in. They'll also be able to see a log of what's happening in terms of temperature readings and snapshots of people who are actually coming into the building. If the unit finds an abnormal temperature, it will come up large on the screen, and it will actually shoot some video at that point of what's going on. And you can replay that video on this part of the software. Obviously, there's no video in here for me to replay to you at the moment. And you can see here, this is an example of the types of images and information that the product will log as people come into the building. So you can see this is me with and without a mask. And as you can tell, I've actually, when when I initially set this device up several weeks ago here, I actually noted myself as a user and gave myself all the details in the software here. So it knows that I'm James Hadland. Whenever I stand in front of this camera now, it scans me, gives my temperature, and it tells me that, that it's James Hadland who's been scanned at that point. You can see here that I'm on the allowed list. That's what this column is. You can see the temperature scan here for the scans that have been made at the times that then dates that they've been taken. And what it's doing here is it's comparing the image that it sees every time I walk in front of the camera to the library image that I told it to look at to do a comparison. And so here it shows you the similarity. It says 88% similarity on this particular instance, that it was James Hadland, the time, date, 97.31 degrees Fahrenheit, that I wasn't wearing a mask, but that my temperature was all right. It was below that 99.1 threshold. So this is the kind of information that you can glean from the system. And you can also export that in the form of a Excel spreadsheet, which I can show you a little example of here in a moment. And that's what's really useful about this package, because if you do export the data, you can search back over a given time period and actually then export the data that you need. If you were going back to try and track and trace, if one of your employees did have COVID at some point, or report in and say that they're sick at home likely with COVID, you can go back then and trace, okay, you know, who else did they come into the building with? What sort of time did they come in? Do I need to identify some other people who came in and let them know what's going on? And that's when your protocol for handling that situation will actually kick into place. You can add new products using this particular part of the software. So if we've got multiple cameras, we would simply add them in right here. We can configure different settings on the product. For example, the face parameters here, you know, we can change the kind of exposure on the camera that we want to have. If you've got this in a brightly lit or dimly lit environment, we can change the parameters here so that it will work correctly for the kind of lighting that you have. We can also set it to do different things. Like I said, we set them for face detection and temperature detection, but we can set it to just temperature or just face or any number of different combinations there. So it's a very flexible system. Here's where we can set the temperature. We've got it set for 99.1 here, but we can change that if we wanted to put it for 100.4, which is the CDC guideline for what's considered to be a high temperature with COVID. We could set it for that if we want to. We can also work in Fahrenheit or Celsius, centigrade, if we want to do that. And we can also set the time on the unit, etc. We can also program in if we want the unit to be continuously on, or whether we want it to go to sleep and come back on at a certain time. So again, you've got a lot of things that you can do with the unit in terms of accessing it and making sure that it's working the way that you want it to work per your particular requirements. So that's how simple the software package is to use. And right now, I think I'd like to go back to the software the PowerPoint presentation so that I can actually kind of show you the stands, etc., that come along with the unit as well. So let me just bring that back up here. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, you should see this in a moment. Okay, so we went through the software. Now, and again, these are some of the screenshots that you were just looking at, the main page, different ways of managing the information. You can see here on this image, that's multiple cameras in use at the same time. So you can have multiple cameras all in use. And then if one particular camera has an alarm situation, it's going to come up large on the screen, and there'll actually be a red bar with a notification on it as well to tell you that there's been some sort of high temperature alarm. Again, I showed you where we'd got the log of information on the system. And this is an example of a spreadsheet that I exported with the same information on it. So you can see it just exports straight into a comma separated value file format, which is compatible with Excel. In fact, it just creates an Excel file as you export it. And so then you can manipulate this and crunch the data in any particular way that you feel you need to. From a mounting perspective, we've got a few different options. We've got the tall stand, which is a floor stand that stands at about 4.5 feet plus the unit itself. So it's going to be at about 5 feet tall. Or we've got a really nice desk stand as well. Both of these stands have an LED light on them, which kind of draws your attention into the product. It lets people know that, hey, this is something I need to take pay attention to, and perhaps walk in front of and get scanned. And so in that way, you can make sure that people, when they come into the building, are drawn to it, so they know that this is something they have to do. We also have an optional wall mounting option, but there may be more of a lead time with that. That's not something we usually do. Most people use the floor stand or the desk stand, and those are the most popular stands that we provide. So I want to thank you for listening, and I hope this has given you a good insight into the TempAssure unit. If you have any questions, please just get in contact with us. The number is right there on the screen. Or of course, you can contact your local TempAssure representative for any information that you would like to have. So thanks again, and we look forward to you using the product. Bye-bye.